Hey, welcome to Beta List. I'm Jeff. I've got Amit Chatterjee here and all the way in San Francisco. Hey, Amit, how are you?
Good, Jeff. Thanks a lot for having me.
No problem. So, Amit's the founder of Leap Commerce, or one of the co-founders, actually. So, tell me a little about Leap Commerce and what your guys' mission is. What's the backstory? How'd you guys get going?
Absolutely. So, Jeff, Carell and I are actually co-founders, and we were high school chums. And after having been at several startups myself, Carell was the 10th, first senior engineer hired over at Facebook. And we got together about a year ago and said, look, let's do something which comes out of my background, which was sort of big data, and his background, which was social, and we wanted to direct it into mobile.
Very cool.
So we got kind of excited about the notion of being able to work together. But secondarily, we also had the notion that there was a lot of transformation occurring in the world of social, mobile, and big data, and that we could help sort of drive some new interesting business models. Where we first started our foray from that platform was in the area of commerce. And we were running around one day as we were launching our first beta, and we were trying to figure out what do we want to call our company name, and this was when we were about to incorporate. We talked about the notion that we wanted to have customer loyalty, we wanted to have engagement, we wanted to have big analytics, and we wanted to have payments associated with it. And we kind of looked at those four things and we said, well, that's the name. Let's call it LEAP. Loyalty, engagement, analytics, and payments.
Not bad.
How we ended up building the name LEAP. And obviously the company has been focused on trying to deliver that kind of value to consumers, brands, and retailers.
Very cool. And you've got a couple products, Best Decision and Spark. And as we were talking about a little bit ago, you said your mission is sort of more or less to help consumers not abandon that cart, just to sort of have them really, find that product that they're looking for, that specific product, the one that's, best picked for them, their best decision. So tell me a little bit about how you guys go about, doing that. I mean, it's a lot of data, it's a lot of very, small details, but, what's the process, I guess?
Absolutely. And so, I think the important question in the world of commerce today that we believe is addressable by this kind of technology is that consumers oftentimes will, whether they're online or whether they're in a store, be shopping. And the data that's being collected is actually only about purchasing. So we know what you purchased, but we have no idea how you shop.
Exactly.
And we realized that there's probably, and as we've talked to retailers, we've understood that there's about, on average, 10 to 12% cart abandonment, whether it's in the retail store or whether it's online. And that's a pretty significant number because that represents a lot of opportunity for brands and retailers to convince a customer that they should have had that product.
Yeah.
And so we sort of tracked back to the consumer and we started saying, well, no one knows why that person looked at these items. So we started saying, let's bring in ways to reduce that cart abandonment by providing, number one, the smartest intent purchasing. So if I know exactly what I'm looking for, so Jeff, you happen to be in Missouri right now,
Yeah.
and you want to buy a pair of jeans, but you're from New York,
Yeah.
you want to know the best online or local place that you can get it before you head to your next trip to London.
Exactly.
We want to facilitate that process.
Sure.
But secondarily, let's say the first time you're going to go camping, you want to buy a tent, but you've never gone camping.
Yeah.
You like to get not only your friends' opinions, but also people who purchase things similar to you to be able to provide you input.
Yeah.
That became the social consideration aspect of why Spark took off.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to be able to discuss important considered items. So we're not talking about all your products, but the most expensive and usually the most important that you will deliberate on products to be able to help there.
Yeah.
These are stronger considerations than reviews because reviews are written by anonymous people and we don't know what their buying patterns are.
Sure.
Whereas what Spark does is it helps identify purchasing patterns as well as shopping patterns that are similar to yours.
Okay.
So demographics and the behaviors of individuals like yourself, we believe that there's an opportunity to actually have a discussion to talk about the tent and actually then arrive at a decision for Jeff.
Sure.
And make a better purchase in his life.
Okay. And in terms of how you go about getting the data, I know you guys said, when your platform is an SDK. Also, you offer to partners.
Yes.
So gathering data from them and also people who sort of, you said you ask questions beginning when they start using the app or in different circumstances. Um, do you sort of get the initial data from those points and then sort of build off of that? I guess the question would be like, how do you, when that user first signs up, where does all the back where do all those decisions come from? Like, if they don't have any friends using Spark, or if they don't have any friends using Best Decision, where do those recommendations come from?
Absolutely, it's a good question. The concept of what Spark is trying to build out is a product graph.
Yeah.
So it's connecting people and products. So the first time you get onto our platform, obviously we connect with one person then.
Yeah.
Secondarily, as you start to do searches, we start to populate products into your graph. And then secondarily, thirdly, when you do a connect with a Facebook,
Yeah.
we're then able to populate people. And then based on that platform, we then start to watch that connection and that correlation around how many different items, how many corporate pages did you like
Yeah.
that are analogous. And then based on that, we can then formulate a decision around who are likely best decision makers to support Jeff in his purchasing for fashion,
Mm-hmm.
his best decision making partners for consumer electronics,
Yeah.
and who are his best decision making partners for home goods. And we believe that those groups of supporters for you are obviously not always going to overlap.
Yeah.
Sometimes your best homemaking decision will be your wife, whereas your consumer electronics might be your old college fraternity brother,
Sure.
and your fashion twin is actually someone entirely different who happens to be in London, who dresses just like you because he happens to be from an urban area and likes the exact same type of clothes that you do.
Sure.
So we felt that those kinds of coaches around your shopping decisions actually now link shopping with purchasing. And that's the kind of value add that we think we add to consumers as
Mm-hmm.
well as sales and brand.
And those can be just other people using the application, or they must be using the app. Yeah.
Facebook, on Twitter,
Sure.
Once they've connected to Spark.
Okay. Very cool. And then in terms of partners, you guys have a really nice list: Walmart, Gilts, Savai, which got acquired by eBay, if I'm correct. Um, how do you guys integrate with them and sort of help them, further their systems or something to that effect?
Yeah, well, so each partner that we have is broken into twofold. One is we obviously bring in product inventory data from our partners.
Sure.
So right now in our catalog, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 million products that we link into the best decision search, as well as for discussion on Spark.
Sure.
But there's also a set of situations where a partner would actually want to take what Best Decision does with our universal cart and allow consumers to not only purchase from their site, but from anyone else's site and have a single checkout experience.
Very cool. So like same shipping address, same everything, and it all just runs through.
Exactly. And so what that allows a customer to do, and the real value for a consumer, especially in this holiday season that we're having this interview, I've got to shop for 7 uncles and aunts and a bunch of nephews. I'm clearly not going to get everything from one store.
Yeah.
So as a result, I might be able to do all of my laptop or desktop or tablet shopping with Spark and Best Decision and check out once.
Okay.
And so I can find all of my deals. And that value add, I think, drives a lot of retailers and a lot of brands to want to have a presence in that ecosystem because they see the association of moments of shopping and then bringing everyone together, bringing the entire purchase basket through to actual transaction.
Very cool. And then in another sense, how do you guys go about sort of making revenue, going, being profitable? Because you can, you have the SDK, you have the whole back end you can offer to, top brands. But what's the other sort of methods you guys have for,
Absolutely.
getting the job done?
Our revenue model is constantly an area of focus for me. Corel gets to do all the brilliance and the product innovation, and my job is to make sure that we can figure out what the world looks like in terms of where we create value and then can appropriately gather some revenue for.
Yes.
Right now, what we've learned from the market is, number one, there's obviously a tremendous amount of revenue that we can capture via advertising, because we feel that brands want to have contextual-based searches, and they want to be able to demonstrate their presence and why they're different in that context. Secondly, we have transaction revenue. Obviously, anything that purchased on our system, we generate a revenue stream for that, either via affiliate fees or actual fees that are negotiated after the fact with a merchant.
Yeah.
Third is what we would call big data revenue stream. How many anonymized folks, actually compared, Ninjago versus Benami toys. And there's last but not least is sort of search presence. As we've been very successful in driving a lot of search to identify intent purchasing, whether it's a television or whether it's a sweater, a variety of merchants would like to have their item show up in the rankings. Now, based on profile, it may not, but in the instance where it does, there's a natural affinity to bring the consumer and the brand together, and we facilitate that.
Okay, very cool. And in terms of user base, what's your guys' sort of growth strategy, I guess? How do you guys plan on, at least, aside from the SDK and more larger corporations, what general people, how do you plan on getting them on board, getting them to find out and use Leap and Spark and Best Decision and those type of services?
Absolutely. So a couple of things we've actually created, which is a dynamic banner ad system that actually can run on other apps, and when they click on it, it actually runs an iframe of Best Decision on for the consumer on their mobile phone or on their tablet, and they generally can then create a commerce experience that way. So we capture a set of friends that way. Secondarily, we've been launching with Twitter Card a product-based platform that allows people to be able to take advantage of our offerings and then have people be able to pass that around in the Twitter sphere. Okay. So we feel that that's taking on a viral nature of its own. People like that. They then download the application or they visit our web client and then be able to use the website to then to push through their final transaction. And we've seen that those two areas have definitely shown some tremendous amount of growth. And then we've got a couple more types of deals like that planned for the near future with a few larger internet brands.
Okay, very cool. And then in terms of, I guess, your target demographic, I'm assuming you're going more for like the frequent shopper. I mean, personally myself, I'm not a huge, shopping type of guy. I'll go out and buy, something once in a while. It's like, groceries. But in terms of, I'm assuming it's more like that, maybe housewife or the girlfriend or, something that maybe more like the female audience in terms of like, shopping and.
So we don't try to bucket it into gender-driven approaches, but instead what we focus on is need.
Okay.
We have a stronger affiliation demographically for Best Decision with people who are purchasing with intent, meaning exactly what you said. Yeah. Frequent shoppers, people who need 7 items, know exactly where they want to get them, know the price they want to pay usually, or see if they can get a better price.
Sure.
Then they'll use Best Decision, purchase it on one cart, have it all delivered, right? And so it can be from 7 stores.
Yeah.
So the universal cart aspect is a real big driver there, as well as the idea that I can get from multiple companies, I can get something done. For Spark, it's actually more for someone like yourself.
Okay.
Probably out of 1,000 purchases you make, most of them are repeat, or you've already narrowed the description down, and there's, you're just going to look for the best price.
Yeah.
There's probably 50 to 100 purchases that you're going to make over the course of a year that are important and considered. Meaning you might buy a camera, you might buy a new laptop, you might buy a very expensive leather jacket, and you might want to have not just the best price, but also a little discussion about how easy it to clean this suede jacket, and be able to connect with people that might be able to give you information. Or if it's the first time you're putting in home speakers.
Yeah.
Those kinds of items we feel are important purchases. And so the context, a lot of people, when we talk about it, Spark instantly is similar to having a conversation on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
Instantly, I'm willing to deliberate about what movie to go see that cost me $7.50,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't deliberate around a jacket.
Or a
Or,
fridge or something to that effect. Yeah.
so
Okay.
those are the natural areas where Spark becomes tremendously valuable, both for the consumer as well as for the retailer and the brand, because those are the purchases that everybody questions, right? And the cart abandonment is highest at those areas.
Yeah.
So we felt that that was an area that was under addressed.
Okay, very cool. And then in terms of your cart abandonment, you talked a little bit before we were at just discussing before about you lowering the percentages, and you said you're getting from around a 10% is about the average 10 to 12% down to about 5. How big of a difference is that for consumer or for larger corporations, for vendors using your service? And
Absolutely. So
yeah,
if you go through that model, you look at a 12% cart abandonment, and let's assume conservatively you can get it down to 9%
yeah,
for a well-known brand retail presence. That would be somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, 50 to 80 million dollars in profit.
very
Right.
nice.
So
Yeah,
if you assume they're doing $1 billion via commerce,
yeah,
that's kind of how you can arrive at those numbers.
very cool.
So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there,
Yeah,
that we feel this technology effectively provides both brand a strategy to stay successful in a value based economy,
hmm,
and then secondarily, there's a tremendous amount of leverage we think that the consumer gets in really understanding their own purchasing behaviors for the benefit of themselves in the future.
very cool. Well, it sounds like you guys are on a great track to sort of expand commerce and really, I mean, in terms of like, if I was a large vendor and somebody said, you know, 12 to 9, that would be, that'd probably make me jump out of my chair. So,
That's what I'm hoping for, Jeff.
very cool. But thanks a lot. It's been great. And I mean, yeah, I mean, any plans for the future? You're just going to keep going and growing? Any clients you really want to get on board or?
Well, our aspiration is to basically be able to take that cart abandonment story into something where it is in the 5% category
Yeah.
range. And I think if we can drive considered purchases for individuals like yourself who
Hmm.
don't use shopping as often,
Yeah.
but come to us for the big purchases that you really care about,
Yeah.
I think we'll have done a lot of work
Okay.
towards our own aspirational goal, which is making everybody's purchase not feeling like a used car sales experience,
Yeah.
but actually like the most effective way to touch
Yeah.
to understand why you're buying
A
something.
good customer experience is sort of like, I went to I just bought my new tailored suit, and I've had a personalized, the nice little Italian guy there went through, measured me and everything, and we were all set at the end, and I'm a happy camper, right? So
That's exactly right.
very cool. Sounds great. But yeah, thank you very much, Amit, and have a great holiday season, and yeah, good luck. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with in the future. So
Sounds great, Jeff. Thank you very much, and happy holidays.
you too.